So welcome our experts from diverse fields. I think maybe you know about the panel discussion session because this is more focused on Himalayan and it also because basically focus on Himalaya as well as with the mountain committee because that is the main agenda of this discussion. I think my first question is for Dr. Narendra Babu Pradhan because you know that from your vantage point within both national and international conservation spheres because you have very good experience working with both in Nepal as well as in other parts of this world. So I think looking at your past experience as well as your own expertise because you have past experience as well. So I think where do we currently stand in responding to the climate change impacts unfolding the Himalayas? So that is, I think, that is my the first question. I think maybe it's good to have a. I think maybe we will just try to get your own, experience regarding the strategic direction because you know that you are from policy sector as well. So I think not only I think just having a kind of creating different database or other research is not enough for our country because we need a kind of policy feedback as well. So looking at your own experience, so how what could be the best strategic direction, particularly because we know that we have lots of challenges that need to be addressed. So based on your experience, I think how we can address those challenges. Challenges means cascading challenges. We know about the fact as well. So based on your own experience, could you please shed light on these aspects?
Yeah, thank you, Manish ji. As we saw from the presentation also, how climate is, impacting our system actually. So in fact, when we talk about climate change, the climate impact mainly in two aspects. One is increasing temperature, and next is in precipitation. It's just altering the precipitation pattern. So because of this, we saw the glacial outbursts, the formation of new glacial lakes, all this sort of thing happen, and its cascading effect is very, very devastating. As we also saw before in presentation, we are much more focused on some other issues, and we talk a lot about climate change, but mostly not much thing is happening, And one other important aspect is, you also saw we can work on climate change in two aspects, one from mitigation aspect, other one from adaptation aspect also. So Nepal is not that, contributing much to for this climate change, but even we are not contributing a lot, we are impacted a lot because we are the 10th vulnerable country because of this climate change. So we all see what happened after the climate change. So to mitigate with that also, we have to work on mostly on adaptation aspect than the mitigation aspect because we really cannot do much contribute much on the mitigation to form these things, but we really need to work on adaptation. So most of the project that we have been doing right now is the adaptation process, but there are some mitigation also that can contribute to some extent to mitigate this climate change aspect. So as we said that, it's a big issue. Just one estimate said that we need almost $11.7 trillion to address the climate change issue in Hindu Kush Himalayan region. And in the same way, in Nepal also, we prepared Nepal adaptation plan. And for 2050, Nepal adaptation plans say we need almost $47 billion to address this issue. And is it possible from our context, only from country perspective? And then that means 47 billion means almost the 6% of our GDP. We need to contribute to address this issue. So that's why, this is the issue, not only the one country or not only the one, nation can address. So we really need to work on the global aspect, global perspective, and we all need to work on that. For that, I think this is what we have been doing right now. And besides that, we will discuss later on the project what we have been doing here.
Thank you very much, Dr. Pradhan, for your, I think maybe you are basically focused on, the different aspects of climate change, because you know that whenever we talk about climate change, it's more about, adaptation or basically mitigation, because that's why I think all policies and even all interventions are basically focused on, I think addressing those challenges. So that's why I think, and even though he had mentioned about, the requirement at this moment, it's more about, we need, huge resources. Resources means financial resources, because from our different, policy documents, we can see different, the funding source that is required particularly for our country, because until and unless we don't get, the financial resources, from the, different communities, because you know that this problem is not created by our nation. So I think maybe those who have contributed, these issues, they have to pay for addressing all kinds of challenges. So I think maybe that is the essence of his, I think the essence of this discussion with him. And also I think when we look at, the financial gaps, that in 2024 we had, the Summit for the Future, particularly in that, in that, summit, I think all international community, they have also, I think, identified the resources that is required for the world. You know that still there are about $5 trillion US dollar that is there, to address all kinds of issues and even to achieve, SDGs as well for the future. I think all our efforts should be, I think, should be concentrated on, addressing such kind of challenges. Now coming to our next expert, Dr. Santaras Gyawali. I think you have very good experience, working with, this part of this world, not only in our country, even in, this Hindu Kush Himalayan region as well. And we know about, even from the presentation from Mr. Tasi Chogal Sherpa, he has highlighted, how critical I think is, Hindu Kush, this region is. So that's why I think, and this region is also very ecologically important and also very significant, in terms of biodiversity. And also biodiversity means not only about biodiversity, and we also talk about water resources as well, and other aspects of, the nature. So that's why I think, could you please, because based on your own experience, could you please briefly highlight the key conservation values? You are, I think, very, you have, your background is also the conservation as well. So I think, could you please briefly highlight the key conservation values of this range, particularly in this Hindu Kush Himalayan region, and the major threats that challenge it faces due to climate change? That is my first question. And also, I think we want to hear from you more about, the different actions. Actions means concerted efforts, or, the coordinated effort or integrated efforts, so that are required right now. So that how we can integrate, the science or even the policy or communities, because that are very important or very, I think, to ensure long-term resilience and environmental services. So we just want to hear from you.
Thank you, Manish ji. And first of all, I would really like to thank the Everest Alliance. Mr. Sudarshan ji is right there smiling. He's such a great personality for organizing this, and then also inviting all the heroes who have succeeded to climb the Mount Everest, and then all the participants here. I mean, this is my immense pleasure to be in this August gathering and share some of the current scenarios of biodiversity in the Hindu Kush region. And then there are a lot of challenges that biodiversity along with the communities face. And then also what really could be done to ensure the long-term survival of the biodiversity and then ecosystem, so that the ecosystem services could continue in future. When we talk about Hindu Kush region, this is not a very big region. I mean, this is just a 3,500 kilometer long stretch spanned in 8 different Hindu Kush range countries, and also accommodates all the high mountains, 8,000 plus peaks within this region. This is, I would like to say this region, this is one of the masterpieces of carved by Mother Nature. This is also from the biodiversity conservation point of view, this is one of the hot spot of biodiversity. And then also this region, from the biodiversity point of view, this accommodates about 4 of the global 36 biodiversity hotspots. And then also 12 of the global 200 ecoregions within this. And then also from conservation and management or protection point of view, if we look at the efforts in the region, about 575 protected area, the national parks, wildlife reserves, hunting reserves or conservation areas, or other conservation regimes are within this. And then also this is very important bird area. This is a very important bird area. So there are over 335 important bird areas, and then nearly 53 important plant areas. So this area, this Hindu Kush region is extremely diverse in plant diversity also. This is not only wildlife. And also this is home, I mean, this landscape is blessed with over 35,000 plant species. I mean, we can imagine in such a short span, most of it is like 6,500 above. This is all snow, where we have no vegetation, no other biodiversity life there. And then also the altitudinal gradient between less than 1,000, or I would say 500 meter to 6,500 meter. The diversity of the plant, as I said, 35,000 is huge. And 200 species of mammals roam in this, 1,200 species of birds, and 75,000 insects have so far been identified. I mean, there are many numbers, I would say, a huge number that is still not known to the science. So this is, from biodiversity point of view, this is such a very diverse, and then ecosystem, the number of ecosystem and their services from the ecosystem services from this Hindu Kush region is immense, where the natural systems as well as the human as well as wildlife depend on. And also, if we look at the crop diversity, this is one of the reasons where the crop diversity, agriculture crop diversity is extremely high, and then that is tied with the culture and tradition of our mountain people. And then also this mountain, as Manish said, this is from water resource point of view, this is the water tower of Asia. This provides water directly to nearly 200 million people living in the hills and mountains of the region. And also about 2 billion, including those 240 million, are directly or indirectly depend on the water resources given by 10 major river basins originated from this region. So I mean, this is amazing landscape. And also this Hindu Kush Himalaya region is one of the energy hub. I think the hydropower potential estimated is about 500 gigawatt is nearly 1 billion watt. That is the hydropower potential in this region. And also this is one of the very important destination for the visitor, where 75 million visitors visit every year in Hindu Kush region. And then we can easily imagine the amount of the economic contribution that this range provides is immense. And despite such a immense biodiversity wealth in the region, and the conservation values in the region, the biodiversity of the region suffers from a lot of anthropogenic as well as the natural threats or the challenges or issues. Our forest land, the ecosystems are shrinking, continue shrinking, because need for the agriculture expansion, infrastructure development, and then other development activities. So our forest areas are drastically shrinking in the area. And then the forest resources are degraded primarily due to overgrazing. The grazing pressure is still in the ecosystem, particularly in the high mountain areas, also in the mid-hill areas. And then also the fire is one of the threat to the biodiversity in this region. And then also the invasive species, alien invasive species invading the natural ecosystem, replacing the native plant species is one of the another major threat. And poaching continues. Poaching of all species, name it, whether it's a tiger, rhinos in the south, and then also the snow leopards, and then other species in the north. They are facing tremendous pressure from poaching. Commercial timber harvesting, and then illegal timber smuggling. Okay, smuggling is a serious problem, and pollution is another serious issue in the region. So I mean, the scenario, if we look at the existing scenario, the future of the biodiversity as well as the people living in this landscape is bleak. So what could be the solution? For me, I think a deep understanding of the values, the status and values of the biodiversity and or the natural capital of the region, and then realization that the loss of the natural capital in this region will directly impact on the human civilization in long run. Number one. Number second, I think we should immediately start changing our behavior and then adapt the ecosystem-based way of living, and then guided by a single Hindu-Kush Himalayan region conservation and development strategy backed by science and then modern technologies, harnessing the ecosystem services, and also that promotes the green, resilient, and inclusive development and conservation practices. That is, I think, I see two areas where we really need to start now. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Jnawali, for your, I think, insights, thoughts about the biodiversity conservation that is required, particularly for this Himalayan landscape, and also because that this is very important in terms of this biological hotspot or even biodiversity hotspot. So that's why I think all efforts should be, I think from all sectors. I think we should have a kind of collaborative approach to address all kind of challenges. So I think coming to our next panelist, Ms. Yangji Doma Sherpa, and she also the general manager of Sagarmatha Pollution Control Committee, SPCC. I think you represent, the lived experience from the mountain communities because you are living there, very closely with the mountains, and often the first to feel climate shocks. We know whenever we talk about climate change, it's more about climate shocks or different drivers. So I think even though we are talking about different challenges, and even threats as well. So I think could you please share the key climate-related challenges actually faced by the local communities, like the Sherpa or even other communities, those who are living there in the mountain. So that's why I think it's more about because we know about the past as well. I think based on your experience, I think maybe you had a kind of communication with your own elders as well as your own experience. So looking at those things, I think could you please share your own thoughts, and also in your own view, I think what adaptive measures because I'm talking about the challenge is not enough, so that's why I think we should have we should adopt different adaptive measures as well that are needed to safeguard livelihoods as well as the culture and the dignity of life in the mountain communities. So I think particularly those mountains are actually very fragile. So I think looking at those conditions, I think could you please shed light on this as well?
Thank you very much. First of all, I would like to thanks the organizer for including me in this important panel discussion, and for giving me this opportunity to share some of our mountain voice. My home is Thami. It is a small village in the Mount Everest region, and it is one of the oldest Sherpa settlements in the Everest region, and it is also home to legendary mountaineers, Tenzing Norgay Sherpa, Apa Sherpa, our Kamirhita Sherpa, who just broke his record and stood on top of Everest for the 31st time. And today at this program, many people ask me how many times did I climb Mount Everest. The answer is no, I have never been to any, I have never climbed any of the mountains, but I'm very proud to share that I share the same route as some of the legendary mountaineers. And I'm very proud of that. And talking about the impact of climate change, I think you have seen in Tenzing's presentation, my village, Thame, has been struck by a climate disaster in August 2024 last year. And the flood entered our village. It washed away the school, the hostel, many homes, businesses, shops, farmland. And it was very heartbreaking to see in just half an hour, my beautiful village turned into just boulders and rivers and landslides. And the impacts are still happening there. And one of the major serious consequences is that I have many relatives, many friends who are very, very young with young children. They have lost everything in the flood. From their investment, they lost their home, they lost their land, they lost their saving, and they didn't have any choice other than to be displaced from our village. So this is what it looks like, the real impact of climate change in our mountain communities. It is real. It is the melting of glaciers. It is less snow in winter, very dry, and water scarcity is there. And more importantly, it's about broken communities, loss of livelihoods. Our cultural heritage are being washed away, and families has been displaced. They have been forced to leave their homeland because of climate disaster like Gulf. And my communities, they don't know much about the impact of climate change and how they impact, how these things are happening. And the Thame Gulf itself has been an awakening experience for myself as well. I have been working with SPCC, it's a local environment organization working exclusively in the Everest region. I think some of you who have been on Everest might be familiar with the organization. We have been working in waste management, and we also set the Khumbu Icefall route. But what I felt was I was not doing enough, despite the fact that I know the changing climates. I was not doing enough, not talking enough, and not taking action. So post the disaster, we have, considering SPCC's institutional capacity, our networks, the support that we have been receiving from the communities and the local government, and also understanding the context of the problem on the ground. We have been networking with researchers, glaciologists like Tenzing, who is also from our nearby village, and the scientists and from our own communities. And we also consulted with the locals, and then we have put together an adaptation, a climate disaster response, community-led climate disaster response plan. And its focus is mainly on small glacier lakes, monitoring the small glacier lakes, installing community-based early warning system, and training the local communities. And in going forward, I think based on our experiences to save the life and livelihoods of the vulnerable communities of our mountains, I think I'll share 4 key important points. First and foremost, the community must be the priority. They should not be just the beneficiary or mere victims, but they should be the they should be the planners, they should be the decision makers, and they should be the implementers of all the solutions that are related to climate change or any environmental issues in the region. And if we could involve them from the early stages of these plans, then only those plans can be locally accepted. It will be more sustainable, and it will have more impact in the long run. And I think, secondly, our experiences from the Thame Gulf was that we need to improve our system, especially the response from the government in regards to such disaster needs to be faster, and it should be more supportive. Especially now as climate disasters are growing, it is important to empower the local governments and give them more authority to respond to this disaster, because in terms of such disaster, every minute counts. And the other important thing is that any kind of funds, whether it's related to climate or aid, it should be directly channeled to the local government, because right now we have the system of moving from one department to another, and then when it reaches the grounds, it's like such a minimum funds that we could not do any impactful project. So at least 80% of the funds needs to reach the grassroots level. And also one of the emerging issue is we need to engage the youth, because youth are leaving the village. That's a reality, because they think they have no future up there. So we need to create employment opportunities, build their skill set, and encourage them to stay back and lead the community. And lastly, it is very important is the partnership. Alone, we cannot do anything at all. So it is, climate change is a global problem, and we need all the stakeholders to work together. The NGOs, the scientists, the government, the local communities have to work together to to achieve a common goal. And only that can be possible. And I think in terms of community, if we can get support in terms of resources, funding, training, then I think the communities of mountain, the communities in the mountain region are very resilient, and we can build more resilient future to tackle the climate change. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Sherpa, for your I think maybe you have highlighted, I think, the important aspect of climate change, that is more about building resilience, how we can build the resilience, no? I think from the community perspective, that is very important, no? We know about the different vulnerability in the mountain regions. So I think the most important, how we can develop a kind of community-led mechanism, no, within our system. That is very important at this point in time. So looking at the time concern, because we have very limited time, we have only a few minutes left for this panel discussion. But before we wrap up with the final round of questions with our panelists, I just want to take only 2 questions from your side.
Climb Mount Everest to May 22, being the first lawyer demanding climate justice. So this is my passion, and so I think this is very nicely organized. You say here climate change and future of the Himalayas. What is the future of our Himalayas? I think we're talking here the 2 issues, mitigation and adaptation. As well as the awareness is also very important. Like we do something regionally, locally, many things which really impacting Himalayas, like we have higher born here from India, somewhere. This is somehow, we need to address that issue also. Not only that, this community is international community, I would say Nepali as well as international. So we all love mountains. So what do we do? There is lots. What is there is, as you said, we are facing so much severe condition without our fault, little bit fault. There is no climate justice. Climate change is there, but we have to fight for climate justice. And I climbed Mount Everest during the time of Conference of Parties of Climate Change Conference in 27 COP. So here they have already started loss and damage. Now COP 20 and 29 has really elaborated on that. So somehow in the international scenario, those who are really contributing more, they are shying away from their commitment. We have seen our Mother Earth, there is some scientific data coming up. Just for during COVID time, there are lockdown of so many fossil fuel industries or entities. So from Punjab, Jalandhar, 2-3 generations, they are not seen mountain or Himalayas. They could see from Punjab, Jalandhar. So that means this is really, this is a very wake-up thing. You could prove on the scientific thing. If we don't mess it around, our Mother Earth has very immense level of healing power itself. So somehow this whole community, if we all love mountains, has to go to our areas and fight for this unjust. Climate change is there. It's there, we cannot do anything. There has to be climate justice. Lisa, that would be very nice if this session could have integrated that part. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. Uh, Actually, I have done a ride for climate change from India to London, and I have seen the impact of climate change in all the other all the 16 countries I have crossed by bicycle. In Nepal, I have seen the landslide in Mugling just before I arrived at Narendra. Then in what we call Uzbekistan, the whole Aral Sea get dried and now it's a desert. In Kazakhstan also the Caspian Sea is drying at a very high level. I have ride my bicycle below the sea level, 26 meters below the sea level. So sea is drying at very fast rate. In Russia, when it's in December, earlier it's around 9 to 10 feet of snow. Now it's not that. In this 2024, it's around 2 feet to 2.5 feet of snow only. In the December, in other European countries, it's snow like in the whole season only 1 or 2 days of snow is there. And in UK, London, especially in London, from last 5 years, there is no snow. In my perspective, to stop the global warming, we need to plant more and more trees. I want to ask what we can do to stop the global warming and to protect our nature, not only for Himalayas, but for the whole world. What we can do?
Okay, thank you very much. I think maybe we have only a few minutes left for our this discussion. So that's why I think we will have last round of discussion with our panelists as well. It's more about based on our audience, because their concern is more about climate justice. So what can be done in the future to address climate challenges? So because we got some feedback from our audiences as well. I think maybe you will try to incorporate those things as well during your. I think maybe in the final round, could you please give because that we have talked much about the biodiversity repository, or the importance of biodiversity, or the importance of conservation, particularly in this part of the world. So I think based on those things, I think could you please I think we want to give a kind of take-home message, because we are from a different diverse community. Just gives us some kind of key messages, what we can get from this panel discussion. Just I think brief message you want to impart to our audiences.
Thank you. But as Saul said, there's still a hope. Mother Nature has power to reclaim. That's true. But whatever happening, this is all human induced. We are the culprit, actually. We are doing all this sort of thing. So in UNCCC meeting, we all agreed that we'll keep 1.5 degree temperature rise between 2050, 2030 to 2050. But still, 1.5 degree, our region will, face more than that because of this, the altitude and the sun rays. Even we keep it 1.5 degrees Celsius, that in our region, it will be 1.8 to 2.2 degree. So I see the more challenges in the future, the more hazard condition in the future. What data says more than 80% of the property lost, property damage, is because of the climate change. And almost 350 or more than 300 lives in Nepal we lost because in the flooding. So these are the situation right now. So there is a hope. As Madam say, we need to save our life, we need to save our food, and we need to save our nature. So now, country like Nepal, we are working more on adaptation. We are we need to develop the early warning system, definitely, a local-based early warning system to save our life. We need to come up with the climate resilience agriculture crop to save our food. And definitely, as Madam says, definitely we need to work not only in the mountain, we need to work everywhere to save our nature, just the plantation, all this carbon sequestration thing, we really need to do that. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Manish, for short slot. I think we all know that climate change is a continuous process. This will continue and then will continue hammering to the natural systems as well as us. So that we all know. And then climate change impacts are more evident that we all know that that is more evident in the Himalayas. Impacting on water security, food security, our health, health of human communities, health of ecosystem, as well as health of the wildlife also. So I mean, this all we know. And what we are little careless is that we know science. We have a data, we have evidences also, but we have not yet very seriously devised the framework that could guide us in future to cope with the climate impacts. I think, me personally, the climate change impact, I think the only solution, as Madam also said, and then also Dr. Pradhan said, the only solution is that protect and conserve the existing or the available green space. Whatever green space, the water also comes in green space, and then snow also comes in there. Protect, conserve, and then wisely use these resources. That for that, we need to change our behavior. I think human community needs to change its behavior immediately, otherwise the future generation will suffer a lot. And then secondly, I think identify the refugia, the climate refugia, so that the immediate climate impact could be coped with. The wildlife could move to those refugia, human community could move to those climate refugias so that they could protect or they could save themselves. And then also green the earth, make the earth a green earth. The earth is changing into a gray earth, or finally it might be a black earth. So make the earth a green space for us, and then for nature, and then for the biodiversity, I would say. Thank you.
I think in some way or other, every one of us have contributed to the global climate change. I think it's just a matter of percentage, how much. But what we really need to understand is that those people who have contributed the less, like the communities, especially in the mountain regions, are bearing the most burden due to the climate change impact. So we need to understand that, and I think every action counts. So individually, we need to reflect on our action and do as much as possible to tackle this global issue.
Thank you very much. Thanks to all our panelists for your passion, as well as for the insight, and as well as the clarity on the discussion topics. So I think now we are almost at the end of this panel discussion session. Today we heard the heartbeat of the Himalayas. We heard about how vulnerable we are right now. So I think we are actually vulnerable yet resilient, and sacred yet increasingly threatened. So I think that is the key message that we heard from all our panelists. As we conclude, let me reflect on a truth that resonates beyond these walls. The Himalayas are not just melting. We always say that snows are melting or Himalayas are melting. Actually they are messaging, messaging for our future, because that is the key things that we learn from our nature. And also they are sending a signal to the world of urgency, of imbalance, and of the need for collective and also the courageous action that is needed at this point in time. And now let's take a moment to reflect not only on the scale of the challenge, but also on the power of human agency and solidarity. So now we need a kind of solidarity among all international community. That is also the, I think the major things at this point in time. So what we heard today reaffirms that climate change is not a distant abstraction. It is reshaping the Himalayas now. Our response must be scientific and also systematic. And also, I think it's more about, solidarity driven. And also the mountaineers, we are from the mountaineering community as well today. and also mountaineers or policymakers and also scientific communities and community leaders, they must climb together. Not just peaks, but for the solutions. Now we need a kind of solution. That is, I think, very important, particularly in this part of this world. Let us leave this hall not only with concern, but with conviction to act, advocate, and amplify the voices of the mountains. Thank you, panelists, for your wisdom. And also thank you, everyone.